Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddham dhammam sangham namasami. Dear friends, now that we are out of retreat, I had a chance to speak with some of the regular students who come to the monastery every weekend. And I inquired what they would like to hear about. Somebody requested having some discussion about the paramis. So I'm starting tonight with speaking about the paramis, or the perfections. These are the virtues that were cultivated by the Bodhisattva over many lifetimes before he became the Buddha, our Buddha, the Samma Sambuddha. This whole devotion to dedicating the paramis had a very big evolution in the Mahayana. In the early suttas, the Buddha did speak about his past lifetimes, and he did speak about developing qualities or the struggles that he went through as a bodhisattva before the breakthrough to the full awakening. So he used the word bodhisattva to refer to himself before he was awakened, especially during this lifetime. There's several suttas that says, when I was only a bodhisattva, then I practiced in this way. And we get some of the most beneficial practices that you can use when you're still a beginner, still not yet awake. The paramis that were developed, there's 3 different lists. There's a list of 6 that possibly existed earlier. It was like a common wisdom. It was picked up in the possibly picked up in the Sarvastivada form, and then there's a list of 10 that was possibly picked up in the early stages of the Mahayana, and then there's another list of 10 that was developed in the by the Theravada. Actually, I'm just going to read you, before I read you this sutta, which is from the Buddha's teachings, I'm going to teach you another little passage from the Charya Pitaka, which is a text that was written maybe 300 of the Common Era. So at that time, there was a dialogue going on between the early Mahayana and the Theravada. So this is a Theravada text, but the tone is Mahayana. I'm just taking a chapter at random from this. Okay, once I was a Brahmin called Sankha, wanting to cross the great ocean. I was on my way to the port. There I saw across the way one self-awakened, undefeated, walking a desert road whose ground was hot and rough. Seeing him across the way, I thought this: a field has appeared for a personage desiring merit. Now suppose a farmer, seeing a fertile field, does not sow seed there, then they are not in need of grain. So too, if I, desiring merit, See a supreme excellent field. Do not render service there. Then I am not in need of merit. So I too, desiring merit, seeing an abundantly worthy recipient, should give gifts to him. Otherwise I will dwindle in merit. Reflecting in this way, I took off my sandals and bowed to his feet, giving him an umbrella and sandals. Though I was 100 times more delicate and dainty than him, fulfilling my giving, I gave like this to him. So this is showing in the spirit of the perfection of giving, that the giver is not holding back anything, even in a way that is not protecting their own existence, that they give away everything. And this does have a kind of an idea that fits with the Theravada very much, and that is if a person wants to awaken, they practice renunciation and letting go, and they let go of everything in terms of letting go of acquisitions. Anything that they identify with as being part of their ego or part of their self has to be given up. So giving up identification, and you keep on peeling the onion and finding more and more things so that you identify with in a subtle way, and let go of everything. And when you let go completely, then you have that opportunity for the awakening to happen. So that's a one sort of a way in which generosity or giving does have a link to the mental cultivation that we want to do according to what the Buddha advised us. Now, the sutta I'm going to read you here is the teaching of the Buddha. This is in the Anguttara, in the numerical discourses, in the chapter of force, and there's a group of discourse on the theme of dana, or giving. And it's very interesting. The Buddha said, mendicants, there are these 8 gifts. What 8? Someone might give a gift after insulting the recipient, or they give out of fear, or they give thinking they gave to me, or they give thinking they will give to me, or they give thinking it's good to give, or they give thinking I cook, they don't, it wouldn't be right for me not to give to them, or they give thinking by giving this gift I'll get a good reputation. These are all mundane, ordinary ways of giving. And then the last one on the list is the true, fully Buddhist way of giving. They give thinking, this is an adornment and requisite for the mind. A requisite for the citta. And when you think of cultivating the mind, cultivating the citta, you think of cultivating the liberation of the mind. And so by giving, you create the situation which is supporting the liberation of the mind. But these previous examples are actually a very sharp observation of how it is in samsara that ordinary people naturally give. It's part of the way that we're programmed by nature. If you get born as a human being, or even as an animal, even a monkey or a cow would give something to their young, and even an elephant gave something to the Buddha. So I want to go back and look at these in terms of the psychology. And when you go to give something, the important thing that the sutta is saying, you got to think, what is your psychology at that time? What's your motivation? What's your state of mind when you're giving? And that will determine to what extent that giving is beneficial for your spiritual path. So if you ever hurt somebody or insulted them or hurt their feelings, and then you feel remorse about that, and you want to make up to them so they won't be angry with you, then you can give something. So that's the first one. You're giving to try to make a reconciliation or to make amends. Like if you want to settle a feud, there's a way that in the ancient system of justice, if somebody commits a crime, they have to pay a large fine because they didn't have the capacity to put a lot of people in jail. Society was not wealthy enough to maintain jails for everybody, but they would make them pay, and so there would be like a price, even if they killed. There's a certain level of a fine that they have to pay. That's the price for that. So that's the one kind of giving. Or they give out of fear. So you may be able to think of an example of giving out of fear. If you're walking down the street on a dark night and a group of bandits comes out and says, "Give me your money, give us your money," then out of fear you will give. Okay, so that's another kind of giving. Not much merit from that. Or they think giving, they gave to me. So this is what's called like a tit for tat morality. So if you will be nice to me, I will be nice to you. We see this a lot in the West around Christmas time or other social occasions. So if somebody gives you a gift at Christmas, you have to give them a gift. That's sort of a social requirement. And so then you've got to keep a list of all the people who usually give a gift and make sure that you give a gift to the people who usually give a gift. Otherwise, you'll be considered you're not polite. Or if they send you a birthday card, then you have to remember that you're going to send them a birthday card. So there's kind of like a social rule that gifts are supposed to be paid back. And this is actually a very beautiful alternative to money. Is in the old days, the world had they didn't use money that much. They would have a gift economy. So if I make pottery, I'll just work all day making pottery, and I'll put the pottery out in front of the shop. And if somebody needs a pot, they can take a pot. And then, according to their conscience, they'll give something to me. They'll give me a chicken, something like that. and so that's a gift economy. So this is the second part of it. Thinking they gave to me, we give, or thinking they will give to me, we give. So you give in order to receive. What goes around comes around. And it's very ordinary, very common. but doing it with that kind of thought, it still is virtuous, but it doesn't lead to awakening. And this next one that says, they give thinking, I cook, they don't, it wouldn't be right for me not to give to them. This is from an idea of morality. So if you learn the virtue that you learn and your parents teach you that you should give, and then you give because you learned that you should give. So you're doing it out of a moral obligation, a moral responsibility, which is also fine. It's virtuous, but it's not the highest form of ethics. In this case, we are getting in the realm of the theory of ethics. Philosophers study what it means to be virtuous, and one form of virtue is what's giving a benefit to the most people. And this idea of the exchange economy, that I give to them and they give to me, is like that's creating a community where the most number of people will be happy. And that is one type of virtue. And then another type of virtue is based on tradition. Another type of virtue is based on rules and precepts. So the people think it's virtuous if they are obeying the rules. And that's kind of what this is getting to. And then this next one is, they give thinking, by giving this gift, I'll get a good reputation. I read a funny example of what this kind of person is. This was a Thai bhikkhu gave this example. This applies, no, it was a Singaporean bhikkhu gave this example. This would be wealthy upper-class ladies who love to give big dana, to have large events with a lot of people, and they like to receive recognition, and they think that there would be nothing more fun than having a meeting with the other wealthy ladies to plan the large dana that they're going to give. And so giving in a way which is public to get a good reputation. Now, in Christianity, they are taught not to give for the purpose of a good reputation. Jesus said that it's much better to give secretly, to give anonymously, than to give in order to get a reputation like that. But in the Buddhist culture, giving is done out in the open, and it's done publicly. And part of the reason is it's related to this last purpose. This is an adornment and a requisite for the mind. So giving is a cause of joy. When you give, you will naturally feel glad and happy. If you're planning to give something, you will feel glad and happy. While you're organizing the thing that you're going to give, you'll feel glad and happy. In the action of giving it, you feel glad and happy. And then afterwards, when you remember giving, you feel glad and happy. So generating that gladness, that's called knowing how to gladden the mind. That's pamoja, chitta pamoja, knowing how to make the mind glad through giving. And when you feel happy, then naturally you would like to share your happiness. So if you do something virtuous and give something to me, and you have that gladness, okay, then I will have sympathetic joy, mudita, because I see your happiness, I see your blameless happiness, and I'm also, my heart becomes joyful because I'm appreciating the good thing that you're doing. And then when you see your happiness in that way, you may think of giving away your happiness, and you want to give your happiness to people who need some happiness, which might be your deceased relatives, or it might be people in the world who are facing some kind of difficulty. If they're facing illness or facing some problem or some danger or some trouble, this is the meaning of the dedication of the merits, is that your happiness is overflowing, and not only are you giving something, you're also giving away your happiness to share it. And then if your relatives are in some kind of your deceased relatives are in some kind of a realm where they're able to be aware of you, and they say, oh, my relatives are thinking of me, then they will have mudita, and they will rejoice. And this is especially important because there are some of the realms of rebirth, like in the Peta realm, or even the heavenly realm. There's not very many opportunities to do good deeds or to do something that's wholesome in those realms. But having that mudita, having that sympathetic joy and rejoicing, is a merit. So they can get some merits from rejoicing because of your dedicating the merits of your gift. So this whole thing, in a way, this reciprocity of gifts, it becomes a kind of a synergy that the happiness grows through mutual appreciation. And so if we give publicly and allow others to see that we're giving something, then that creates the opportunity for them to rejoice. So that's the reason why Buddhists give in public, even though there's this danger of getting a good reputation, of giving for the purpose of aggrandizing one's ego or aggrandizing, building up one's reputation. Then there's another aspect of this last Buddhist type, and I've heard it written that the type of ethics that is followed, that's taught in Buddhism, is called, the technical term, it's called virtue ethics. And that is by behaving virtuously, you become a virtuous type of person. By doing wholesome deeds, that powerfully affects the mind and becomes the habit of the mind or the inclination of the mind. So, in effect, your actions become your character, become the type of person you are. And then your character is, in a certain way, closely associated with your karma. So the type of person you are has something to do with what kind of how you experience the world and what type of rebirth you'll take. So somebody who is a bad character, like a criminal, somebody who's really a criminal, the criminal's worldview is super painful, and criminals are, generally afraid of getting caught. They're generally rather superstitious. And they're generally worried and restless and stressful, and easy to lose their temper. And so they're like living in a world which is extremely dangerous, and always on guard, trying to protect himself from the danger of the world. But then a person who develops a virtuous character in combination with other kinds of wisdom are not really afraid of the world. So the world, in a way, becomes more kind and gentle for them because of what their expectations are. They know that even if they happen to meet a gang of burglars or not to give them all their money, nevertheless, they would be happy and be in a happy world because they know that they still have their good character and that they haven't lost that. And that's like the most important thing. Here's another sutta. Faith, conscience, and skillful giving are the qualities true persons follow. For this, they say, is the path of the gods, which leads to the heavenly realm. If a person is not had the breakthrough of wisdom, if they have possibly even stream entry path or stream entry, at that point they would be confident that in their rebirth they're not going to fall to a lower realm. And in that kind of a way, a person who's even somebody who has some level of awakening, who's on the path, they have a profound sense of inner comfort because they've got a deep level of safety. They would know that it would be impossible for them to fall into a woeful state. And just the same way, even a person who's not learned about the teachings of the Buddha, or somebody who's not had any kind of breakthrough of awakening, just an ordinary person, if they have confidence, if they are conscientious and skillful, do good deeds, and in combination with that, if they have the practice of extending loving kindness in a boundless way in all the 10 directions, and developing the heart of loving kindness in all the directions, a person like that would naturally, we would expect that they could be reborn into a heavenly realm. And not only see this, the cosmology of the Buddhism is both about realms and it's also about psychology. So it's saying that somebody like that, it's like they're already living in heaven because of their state of mind, because of the mental state that they've cultivated, and what they experience is like that, is heavenly. I'll give you one more. This is repeating some of the similar ideas about some of the lower reasons for giving. Mendicants, there are these 8 grounds for giving. What 8? Someone might give a gift out of favoritism, or hostility, or stupidity, or cowardice. Or they give thinking, giving was practiced by my father and my father's father. It would not be right for me to abandon this family tradition. Or they give thinking, after I've given this gift, when my body breaks up after death, I'll be reborn in a good place, a heavenly realm. Or they give thinking, when giving this gift, my mind becomes clear and I become happy and joyful. Or the last one, this is the same idea. They give a gift thinking, this is an adornment and requisite for the mind. So it's for the purification of the citta. And the purification of the citta is the support for meditation, is the support for experiencing the liberation of the citta within deep meditation. So giving is setting up the conditions where it's possible to cultivate and develop the mind in that way, to develop the citta. So with this very short talk, that's what I have to give you today. Shall I read you another? I'll read you another from the Acharya Pitaka, the mythology. Then again, when I reigned in Indapata, the capital city, this is the Buddha is remembering his previous lifetimes. Reigning as a king named Dhananjaya, I was blessed with the 10 skillful deeds. From the realm of Kalinga, the Brahmins came to me requesting the royal elephant that was lucky and deemed auspicious. They said, our nation is suffering from drought, food is scarce, and famine abounds. Please give the noble elephant of midnight hue named Anjana. When supplicants come to me, it is unbefitting to refuse. Let not my vow be broken. I shall give the mighty elephant. Taking the elephant by the trunk, and I bejeweled a ceremonial vessel, I sprinkled water on the hand, and gave the elephant to the Brahmins. When I had given the elephant, my minister said, why did you give the noble elephant to the supplicants? He was lucky and endowed with the auspicious, supreme victor in battle. Now you have given the elephant. How shall you govern the realm? I would give the entire realm and my physical body as well. Omniscience is precious to me. That is why I gave away the elephant. Let's see if there's some questions. Welcome, Gregory, Ananaya, Amanal, Ryan, Samasiha, Eric Thorne, Yankee Apple, Uttara, and Narong Tiborn. One question from Gregory. Ayyā, are there any forms of generosity that the Buddha spoke against, such as giving something that might be harmful to them or others? The Buddha spoke of inferior types of generosity that have just a small amount of merit, like the examples we gave. There's another verse that says, some generosity is like a scattered shower that just comes once in a while, but not when you need it. That's like somebody who just gives to their friends, but not giving in general. And that the higher form of generosity is like the monsoon rain that just floods everywhere and everything gets completely soaked with that generosity. So I think right. There is some. Let me come back to the. There's an idea that giving should be consistent, done consistently. So, like for example, if we start to feed the birds during the wintertime by putting birdseed out, what happens is the birds will get used to finding the food there, and eventually they'll have the habit of coming expecting food. And then later on, if you stop giving food, if you forget, if you're not unreliable, then the birds could starve because you gave, but you don't give reliably. And then there's another example of giving, which is unwise in terms of not paying attention to what the donor really needs or what would be useful or beneficial for the recipient. So somebody gave at my last monastery. Somebody gave 10 large stuffed animals, children's toys, to the monastery because they thought it would be good to have. And that was not a suitable gift because we didn't have a place to keep those things. And at that time, they didn't have a children's program. So it was just extra trouble to arrange to give those things to a charity for children and to make sure that that was okay with the donor. So we had like extra work and extra trouble for the bhikkhunis because of getting a gift that was kind of careless and thoughtless. I'm sure it's true, Gregory, that if you like give intoxicating drugs or intoxicating alcohol to somebody who could become addicted or something like that, or if you give a gun to a child who's not able to use it responsibly, that's like creating danger. And I don't remember seeing a sutta about that, but I wouldn't recommend that. Fearlessness and the fearlessness of selflessness. This is from Samasiha. So it's very interesting. There's kind of a pun, isn't there? between selflessness and no self. If a person is giving in a way which is selfless, it's because they don't seem to be concerned about protecting their own safety or protecting their own wealth. Even they're willing to sacrifice their own safety, or they sacrifice their life to save another. Before I ordained, I worked for a nonprofit group, and make a long story short, I was involved in administrating a life insurance program. And one of the recipients of life insurance became famous because there was a disaster in Washington, D.C., where an airplane crashed and many hundreds of people fell in the ice. It was winter time, it was icy, and they fell into the Potomac River and were going to be killed by hypothermia before they could be rescued. And this fellow was on the plane, so he was in the water. And eventually the helicopter came and dropped a basket down, and the man saw a lady, and he put a lady into the basket, and she went up. So then they dropped the basket down to him again, but he found somebody else, and they put another person in. And he just kept putting other people into the basket so that he kept seeing other people to save. And then he died. He gave his life saving. He literally just gave his life saving others. He had no fear. This was a man who was a very virtuous person who was involved. His whole life was for the purpose of doing good. That was his vocation, was doing some kind of a charitable work. And so that response was representing the kind of person he was. When a person understands karma, and they understand that the most precious, the only possession they have that's worth anything at all is their karma, and that if they do that which is virtuous by body, speech, and mind, then they know that in the next life, the karma that they have done will be their inheritance. So they will inherit the results of the virtuous things that they've done. And so they're not afraid of death. They're not afraid of harm to their body, but they're only afraid of doing a wrong thing. Especially as it relates to our service to the Sangha and the monastery. Yes, it's very dangerous for a monastic to be in a monastery as we are, because the monastery is this great large thing which one could easily be attached to. And so we have to make a lot of special effort to not become attached to the monastery or obsessed with building up the security of the monastery. We have to constantly be thinking it's only for the inspiration of people and for having a place for people to be able to practice, and having a place for people to perhaps see things like the Buddha Rupa, or to see things that bring inspiration for them. We had this conversation before. They were doing some repairs around the front door of our monastery was looking kind of bad. And it was a question of like whether it was that important, because we don't use that door. So why does it have to be beautiful? And my answer to that is that the Sammasambuddha, our Buddha, is the sublime one, the best one, the perfect one. And so when we try to make things look kind of perfect, it's like because that's how we feel about the Buddha, where it's like sort of letting the perfection or the beauty of, or the niceness of the presentation representing what we think is the quality of the Buddha that we aspire towards. Hello, Chintana. Is seeing a need to be filled and filling it considered generosity? Yes. Absolutely. This is part of the wisdom. It's very good when the donor or the benefactor has got their eyes on the situation. And so they're looking to notice if there's something lacking or something needed. And it's their paying attention is almost equally as valuable as the effort that they do then to bring whatever it is needed to take care of that need. Ryan, dear Ayyā, what if a person doesn't have anything to give, say a poor person, for example? Well, do you remember the name of that couple? Which couple, Ayyā? They only had one robe. They had two. She had a robe and he had a robe. And then, so they only had two robes between them. And then they wanted to give a robe to the Sangha. So they gave one of the robes to the Sangha, and then they took turns going out because they only had one robe in between them. And that fable has the moral is then subsequent to that, there's some miracle or some intervention. The king saw how good they were, and they were given abundance, and they gained abundant wealth as a result of giving, even though they were poor and they had almost nothing to give, but still they gave something. And we notice when we go on alms round that the poor are much more generous than the wealthy. So if you don't have anything to give by way of material goods, giving your attention, really taking the effort to see the other person and to acknowledge the humanity of another person, something like that is a gift that you can give. So even if you don't have material things, you can give in many other ways through your behavior, and it can be very helpful and beneficial to others. You may have just answered my question with the Potomac person, for example. The virtuous isn't seeking liberation. The virtuous isn't seeking liberation, the highest virtue one could seek, according to the Buddhas. Yes. And in the sequence of the 10 paramis, actually, dana is given as the first one because it's the most basic and the most simple of that list. And the other, it's so that, even people who don't know, never heard anything about the Dhamma, that don't know anything about liberation, They don't know anything about how to get out of dukkha, or how to come to the end of samsara. Nevertheless, they will still be virtuous. They will still be generous. So generosity is it's a very useful foundation and starting point for our practice, but it's not the not the only one. The list dana, sila, and nekkhamma are the giving, virtue, and renunciation. Those are sort of the early steps of the gradual training that's taught by the Buddha. And then wisdom, energy, and patience, you could say at least that those are aspects of that are supportive for meditation, supportive for the purification of the mind, which is sort of a middle part of the gradual training. And then truthfulness and determination, making adhitthana, is something that's maybe a quality of a higher practice than loving kindness and equanimity are the last two. So equanimity is the last on this list of paramis or perfections, and equanimity is also the last of the Brahmaviharas. Equanimity is the last of the factors of awakening. And so when you've done the full development of that gradual training, and when it comes up to the full development of equanimity, then you're right at the gateway of opening up of liberation. As lay practitioners, could we wander as into Tonga practice and share the virtues of the Dhamma and our Sila with whom we may encounter? That's a very interesting question. So it's certainly true that in the ancient culture there were many, many different kinds of wanderers who had given up the use of money, and who lived on generosity. Even today, I don't know if it's true, but what I heard is that within Indian culture, the appreciation of mendicants is so strong that a lay mendicant could travel from one end of India to the other, and they would never lack for food because people would always give them something. And they would always be allowed to sleep somewhere. So you wouldn't be, because that appreciation of the wanderer. And modern times, meaning in the 20th century, there's an example of a lay woman who did that. I don't know if you've ever heard of the Peace Pilgrim. She was a woman. She was a Quaker. And at that time, people were worried about the nuclear bomb. And she just got this idea. She was just an average person. She said, I'm going to walk for peace. And so she walked from Maryland to California, carrying a sign that said Peace Pilgrim. She refused to accumulate anything. She refused money. She refused any quantities of things because she couldn't carry very much. Even if somebody wanted to give her like 25 stamps to mail letters, no, she only wanted one stamp. She only wanted the one thing that she was going to use immediately. She didn't want anything for accumulation. And after she walked all that distance, then she walked back again, and then she walked back again, and she spent actually the remainder of her life walking back and forth across the United States, carrying this large sign saying "Peace Pilgrim." And it was just a spontaneous arising of the true spirit of mendicity. She didn't have a robe. She wasn't dressed as a religious specialist or anything like that. But she was just doing that practice, and she had a profound impact on those who met her and those who remember her. In this day and age, I know that there are different reasons why it might not be possible to ordain as a bhikkhu or a bhikkhuni, whether because of your debts or because of your personal situation, because of your health, because of your age. So in that case, I actually feel that in modern times, as in the past, the monastic form is the most direct and easiest way to work for awakening. But there are many other ways that are also good, also fine. So that was the last question. I hope that I'll give this invitation. One of the mentions was about adhitthana. If you think about this practice of generosity, of giving, without going too far, if you make a determination to be generous in a way that's realistic, something that you're not expecting that you're going to try and fail, but something that you can expect to succeed. So make a determination in your heart and think, I resolve to practice generosity in some way. And that will be beneficial, and we can build it up during the course of this program about the 10 paramis. Sadhu, sadhu, sadhu.